Welcome to a lovely spring day at Surbiton. I'm just going to show you a few new things that I've done in my garden and things that might inspire you to do something in yours. It's the first week in April, so you never know what the temperature is going to be like here in UK at this time of year. We're zone 7, USDA zone 7. So one new thing I gave my husband as a present for Valentine's Day was a thermometer, and I love this big size. It makes you really aware of the temperature, and I think as a gardener it's really good to know what's coming and going. I am always dicing with death with plants, so my dahlias are coming on nicely in the greenhouse. I'm planting vegetables out and I need to know if it's going to be frosty. This obviously isn't the forecast, but it gives me a good idea of the temperature, and then I will check on my phone to see when the frosts are coming, and if they are, I rush out with the fleece and things like that. So came from the worm that turned, and I love it. It's been a really good addition to the garden. Now I want to show you my new box hedges. Now we replaced the box with a box blight variety Heritage from BetterBuxus just about 2 years ago, and you can see now these tiny little liners have started to knit up and form a hedge. So here they are. They're a little bit wiggly. I need to straighten them up. I'm going to give them a first really good cut this year. They had a light trim before, but we're going to give them a really good cut. But now they are really starting to look like a dwarf hedge. Now Heritage is totally blight resistant. It could get the box moth, but I'll watch for that. We haven't got it yet, but sure as mustard we will get it, and so I'll watch out for it and then I'll spray accordingly. Just want to show you some great plants. I've got just 2 from this area. So this is a plant that people really don't know. It's Erodium pelargoniflorum, and you can see why it's got the pelargoniflorum, because it does look like a pelargonium. But you see, in the first week of April it's in flower and it's looking good, and I plant it in shady, dry places where not much else will grow, and that grows beautifully. The other thing I like that you might not have in this garden is my perennial wallflowers, Erysimum, and I've got Red Jep here, and I planted them over in this corner, and I think they look really nice. I took these cuttings when did I probably took them last summer, and they are nice. They've got the lovely evergreen foliage. They bush out quickly. They're a short-lived perennial, so I will take more cuttings from them this year, maybe next year. And you can see my quince trees are coming on, my new quince trees in their pots, which we've got the yew around them, which I'll clip shortly to really bush that out and hide those black plastic pots. Now come look at my veg garden. So my veg garden, I've got a lot going on. We're picking spinach, we're picking lettuces, we're picking lovage. I'll show you that in a minute. But these are my mange tout peas, and you see I've got this black netting over them because I planted them out maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm going to have to take it off now, but the pigeons, when you plant them out, they just seem quite vulnerable when they're young, so I've put it over and I'll probably take it off now. I always mix a few tulips and flowers with my veg because I think it's nice. But I wanted to talk about this netting because it's a 7mm netting, and it's plastic, I think, and it's very good because you can just drape it. You don't have to have it over covers, but I've used it over my new vegetable cage, and that was a big decision, what size netting to put on my vegetable cage. I'll show you that in a second, because I could have gone much smaller. I could have gone down to a 2-3mm mesh, which would have kept out the aphids, and I would have chosen a white one because a white mesh will bounce more light in than a black. But the thing is, it would have been so tight it wouldn't have let any pollinators in and things like that. So I decided to go for this one, which will keep out the pigeons, the cabbage white and things like that, and then I'll do extra cover for the leek moth and for the aphids. So I'll watch them and then add in extra covers on the beds. But I think this will work really well on my new veg cage, and I do use a lot of it here. I'm just going to show you my lovage because I love lovage, and normally people grow it as a big freestanding herb, but I actually blanch it, and then we're cutting it now very young blanched stalks, and I'm chopping it up and putting it in my salad. So let me show you that. So this is my lovage, and I put it under a sea kale forcer. And as you can see from this, when you blanch something, you make things grow up much faster and they're much paler. So if I take that off, you can see that is lovage that's blanched there, and that is lovage that's not blanched. Now this is lovely too, but this is just much tenderer. So I'll chop off these stalks. I've already had about four pickings from it. Chop those up, and I'll chop them up really small and put them in the salad. And they're a lovely bitter flavour, but not too bitter, less bitter than these jobs which aren't blanched. So I think it's a wonderful plant. It seeds around. My husband uses it on new potatoes. He loves it. Chopped up new potatoes, butter, chopped up lovage, better than parsley. And if you don't want butter on your new potatoes, a fabulous virgin olive oil is also perfect. You can see this horseradish here, it's spreading like mad. But we do have a lot of beef. I don't think you can see the beef this morning. Beef are waiting for their breakfast, and so we do have horseradish, and I love homemade horseradish. Anyway, I'll put him back to bed, ready to be picked, probably in a couple of nights' time, and then it will spring back up. When you continually blanch something, you do tire it a bit. So next year, leave the woodlight out, so next year I'll probably put it on another clump. I don't keep blanching the same pot on and on. And then the other little addition here, they're my lettuce, just those are my winter lettuce. I have these little cloches over them, but they're pretty hardy, and we've been picking them for maybe, I don't know, January through the winter really, but they're now coming up really nicely, and they'll start to bolt soon. So I've got some other ones in my frame, and I think in the polytunnel onions here. But at the other end you can see a wee tiny raised bed that I just made from some sample woven oak panels, and I put the obelisk in it, and I put some peas up it. And I mean, it's a tiny little space, but it's just at the end of the veg garden, and I think it's just quite nice. I need to clean the algae off the obelisk. It's been in the shade, so I need to just get that lovely acid etched galvanized metal colour, lead colour back. Anyway, come and have a look at my new polytunnel. Just a quick look at the meadow. Daffs are just about over now, but you can see the perennial meadow with no grass that we did from a mat is just coming into flower. It's starting to look really good, and then it will look good from now right the way through to the frost. Really thrilled with that, and it's just a very lovely relaxed space. I really like it. Right behind you over there behind the camera is the new veg tunnel, and you can see how we've done it. Maybe we need a wider shot. So I've slightly hidden it behind the hedge, my new vegetable tunnel, but I made the uprights from some old poles we had that were being used for pleaching trees. They don't need them anymore. Taken them out, put the poles in the ground, and then we made the metal framework up. I got Jamie Bullitt to make it for me, and then we've got the two finials on the top. It's all a rusted metal. I love it, and it also partially hides the new polytunnel behind, and I'm just about to start planting all my brassicas into there now, and so those poor pigeons are going to have to just enjoy the farmer's oilseed rate nearby. But I do find growing brassicas difficult if they don't have protection, so I thought I might as well, as I've got the metalwork, just make a fairly attractive vegetable tunnel, just so it makes growing so much easier. Now the polytunnel behind, I didn't want it to be too obvious. I wanted it tucked away, and what I did is I actually made it much shorter than they normally are. They normally come at a standard size of 2-point-something meters, but I don't need all that height, and I thought, so I dropped it a good 2 feet. So I just asked the guy to cut off the metal feet, and I worked out what height I could easily work it and not make it too much for dwarfs. But actually I wish I'd gone another foot down, because why are they always so tall? I don't think there's any purpose, unless of course you're a giant. Anyway, come inside and have a look at what I'm planting now. So welcome to my new polytunnel. You see, I could have brought it down, couldn't I? I could easily have brought it down another foot, and even on the edges it would have been absolutely fine. So I've got these lovely Agretti. Now I got these from the Thyme Vegetable Garden at Dowell yesterday. Now this, you might not know this veg, but it's got a lovely mineralist taste. It's got these round little leaves and it tastes almost like a seaweed. It does actually grow in salty, marshy areas. I think it is slightly tender. So I've got this clump, and they had self-seeded in his polytunnel. So I'm now going to plant them in a row here, and I'm going to divide them up, and I'm going to plant them about 20 centimetres apart all the way down there. And the problem with growing them from seed is the seed has to be very fresh. But I'm hoping if I plant them in rows, they will self-seed, and then I'll have my own natural supply. But you can go on picking them, I think, most of the summer. They're lovely cooked. They taste a bit like a spinach, or I would probably chop them and have them raw in salads, in scrambled egg, omelettes, things like that. You can't help thinking it's one of those plants that must have nutrients in it that other things don't have, because it tastes so minerally and so different. And I will watch them, obviously, when I plant them out to make sure they're getting enough water and they're established. But you can see I've got beetroot in here, I've got rocket, spinach, broad beans. I planted some peach trees and apricot trees. I bought a mini fig in, Little Miss Figgy, which is a dwarf one. I'm hoping she won't outgrow her space. I've got some mange too, some leek plants, carrots, lots of different brassicas, Cavolo Nero, radishes we've been picking for a good month now. It just really extends the seasons. Cucumbers have just come out. One looks a bit wilty, but I've got loads more in the greenhouse. I will trade the dogs not to go in the tunnel, but they love it. And when we were working on it and bringing in the topsoil and things, they were really at it all the time. And so they're not used to being banished, but they will get used to it soon. I'll just pop a couple of these in now. I did water the drill, and so this soil isn't great underneath, and I put on lots of this green waste and digestate on the top. There are some weeds coming through from the soil below, so I'm going to have to be quite vigilant to start with. You can see all these nettle seedlings, but these will come out easily. And I'm just going to break them up and just get one little plant, try and disturb his roots as little as possible, pop him in, and I'll go on and I'll do them about 20 centimetres, about a trowel's width. You can see I'm hitting a stone there. There's a big stone. Whoa, he's a big bruiser, isn't he? Get him out. You can see the rotting off turf underneath. Hasn't got any roots, we won't bother with you. And here's a nice little clump, pop them in, and then I'll water them in. So I'll get all these in as soon as we finished filming. Give them a bit of a soak. Where's the pink can gone? Well, this one's got some in it. I'll give them more. Anyway, so I'm really excited about these Agretti, and I think we will be feasting on those later on in the summer. I'm just going to put some water back in there. We have no mow May in some parts of the garden, but in this part's the lawn, and I love this clean flat space looking out onto the meadow. And the cows, the grass is growing really well now, and the cows have got the heads well down. Come and have a look at the meadow. So this is the new Rose Meadow, and this has been going maybe a couple of years. It's really getting going now, and behind it you can see the comfrey, and that's really what I wanted to talk about, because that is Symphytum hidcut blue, and it was in all this area before under the hazelnuts, but I removed it from this area and I planted it up with other things, but I've left that for now. And the reason that I love that comfrey is it's totally work free. It just looks after itself. And now in this early spring, early April, you've got loads of flowers, and we probably had them for a month, and it's absolutely brilliant for bees and insects, because when they come and take the nectar, all the members of the borage family then refuel their flowers with nectar almost instantaneously. So it is a most fabulous sort of nectar. And you can hear the birds, you can see the bees working there. So I will probably leave that. I have planted topiary amongst it, So it brings this slightly more formal type of gardening in together, links the two. So I will put things in it, and I've got a lovely viburnum lantana, very one-sided, you can see just coming into flower. I've got some beautiful lilacs in there as well, which are absolutely fabulous at this time of year. But in this pepped up meadow, you can see we've got the lovely Erysimum pagoda. They line the path here almost, they line the path there. And I find that to be one of the easiest spring flowering bulbs there is, and it competes with so much. It's quite a thug, and I think it looks beautiful. And I've also got the lovely Honesty Ched Glow, that one with the purple leaves, and that's starting to flower. But come and have a look at the Serpentine now. These Serpentine beds have been in just a year now, and you can see the Cocker hedge is starting to fill out. I'd rather let the plants go a bit too rampant over it, so I'll come in this weekend and just pull them back a bit to give it a bit more space. But it is starting to go really nicely, and I'm really pleased with it. I love the movement of the path, and I've put the little urn at the end in front of the mirror, propped up on some plinths which I found, it's a lovely time of year. And the irises, these amazing irises, not in the sunniest position, but they do look magnificent here, and I do love them. But the hellebores, cyclamen, euonymus, we've got the beautiful hydrangeas coming up. It's wonderful, I love it. Now I'm going to show you two other plants here in the wall garden, which quite unusual, which I really love. This is one of the most amazing roses, I think. It's in flower now April, and it's been in flower in March. And it's Rosa odorata Bengal Beauty, sometimes called Bengal Crimson. And you see it's got these beautiful single flower crimson roses. And I first saw this in Nigel Slater's garden, and it's grown from cuttings. I've grown lots of it from cuttings. It's just so early, and then it will go on all summer, right till the frost. So you can't get a better plant than that, I don't think. And you can keep it smaller. You can, if you've got a smaller garden, you can just prune it back and keep it at a small height. In front of it is a Perennial Honesty, and this is Lunaria rederiva. And it flowers now, and then it will be over in maybe 3 weeks. It's got quite a good time of flowering, but it's nice and early. It seeds around, I love it, and it's just a charming, simple plant. And I think it looks quite nice with the Annual Honesty, the purpler form nearby. It looks significantly different, I think, to contrast. The other plant I quite like here is the Germander. So this is Chim Fruticans, and it's evergrey, beautiful silver foliage. The bees love it. It's in flower now, and it will go on for many months. You can toperize them, you can cut them back to a ball, but it is fairly vigorous. Some people do that, but then obviously you lose the flower. But I think it's a really good shrub. They say it's tender, but it's been here for many years. Anyway, a great favourite. So you can see spring is coming thick and fast here. The hornbeams have just come out this week. You can see some bits have come out more than others, but they are wonderful, and I love watching the new leaves burst through and push the old sort of buff coloured off. Even in the winter, actually, they do give a pretty good screen. So when people are asking for evergreen pleach trees, I always say, well, are you sure you wouldn't like a hornbeam? Because although it's deciduous, the network of twigs is pretty dense, and it keeps those buff leaves on through the winter, and then it bursts into this wonderful thick bright green canopy which will hide just about anything.